Hey guys, you're here with Mark Battle with PerfectGardens.com. So if you've been following our community tab, you've been seeing a lot of plant deficiency pictures posting. I haven't been giving the answers. I've been kind of just letting it linger, obviously, because I want to see what you guys say, and I don't want the answer to be given. I want you guys to search for it, and that's when searching for the answer, it actually creates a greater desire and appreciation for the solution or for the knowledge in a sense. That's what they call being hungry, right? So let's get into real quick what we're going to get into. We're going to get into the pictures, showing you real fast what it looks like, the solutions and why, but then we're going to get into geeky stuff, which I think is going to really break down a lot of stuff. And through that geeky stuff, I'm going to show you even more comparisons. I'm going to show you root systems. I'm going to show you all kinds of stuff. I'm going to show you nutrient lines. And I think you're going to see a lot of whys, right? And a lot of these videos I've been creating around plant deficiencies because I'm showing you one or the other, or showing you how they work together, or the whys behind it, hopefully makes you, once again, a great appreciation for the plant. So,
and here are the other two. This is Super Skunk Fire.
These two pictures has been a magnesium deficiency. As you can see right here, you have the yellowing right here, and this is kind of like the main sign for a magnesium deficiency. A lot of times it will appear with other deficiencies like calcium or so on. And in other videos, I will actually show you what that looks like. But for these plants, it actually appeared as a magnesium deficiency, secondary phosphorus deficiency. And how do I know it was a phosphorus deficiency? Is because this is this purple stem right here. And again, I'm going to get into those whys a little bit later on. Another picture right here I posted recently, and it was a phosphorus deficiency. And why is this, right? I just pulled this up right here on the internet, saying increasing temperature reduces the coupling between available nitrogen and phosphorus in soil of a Chinese grassland. So let's get into the variety of what's happening in this garden. Let's actually look at the root systems without actually tearing open the root system. So you have this pot right here. It's black. You have this one that's white. You have this one over here that's white, black, kind of like a light tan. So it's lost a lot of its darker color. And also you see that the soil systems are very large in here. This is probably a 25 gallon pot. Then you have black, another black, and you have this one down here. It's like a beige porcelain, something along those lines. And you can kind of see how the sun is going through. Do you see how this stake right here is, I know it's leaning, but the light away, the way it's kind of angling, you can see that the sun is coming directly overhead and it's kind of pointing this direction. I can definitely see that most likely these pots probably get hammered during the morning, and these pots probably get hammered during the day as well, like directly overhead, and then probably in the late day. I'm making an assumption, and when obviously you make an assumption, you make an ass out of me and you, but I'm just going off pictures, right? I'm seeing the pictures. I don't have to be there, but they're talking to me in a way. And what do I see? I see this black pot right here, and I kind of see a nitrogen deficiency. The color of the leaves aren't really the green that I'm looking for. And so I come over here to this white pot and this white pot, and look at the green right here. It's darker, right? And you come a little bit farther over, it's even a little bit darker than this one. And why is that? Well, this pot's a little bit deeper. This pot might be a little more shallow. I'm not sure if that makes a reason why, but I just make these observations and put little notations, right? Well, this pot over here, it's over here on the corner, so it probably gets a lot of shade. And when you look at these leaves over here, they do look a lot healthier, like greener. Same thing over here. You have a much greener plant. And then you come over here, this one's a black pot. And I was saying, it probably gets hammered during the overhead and also in the late days. So right here, increasing temperatures, reducing coupling of nitrogen and phosphorus. So right here, it would make sense. In my mind, I'm not saying that there isn't enough phosphorus in the plant. I'm just saying that pot could be getting too hot to the point where it's causing a phosphorus deficiency. I don't know. I'm out there. They're not my plants, okay? People may ask me what's going on. I'm giving an opinion, and I say opinions like assholes. Everyone has one, right? So just take my opinion with a grain of salt and do your own homework and make a decision for yourself. And same thing over here. You see these pots, they're a smaller pot, and this is having a little bit of a slightly lighter yellow than I would normally like to see. So, we'll go forward to the next one. Same right over here. I'm seeing similar possible phosphorus and potassium toxicities, right? And I'll again go into the whys later, but you can see the root systems right here that causes a toxicity. And after this plant was harvested, they sent me pictures of the root system, and it only confirmed some of my thought processes. If you saw one of our past videos on potassium toxicity, you have seen this picture before. Okay, quick solution, guys. These are the approved brands, right? Flat out, I don't make any money off these companies unless you buy them from the store, but this is just the right thing to do, is to push companies that are doing it right. You get these products, you have a decent root system, you have the right growing season, you're going to do a pretty decent job. And these are the types of brands that we should, in my recommendation, I think we should be supporting. Okay, so let's get into some of the reasons why, right? The law of minimum. I talk about it all the time. I'm going to just keep hammering it away. It states that growth is dictated not by the total resources available, but by the scarcest resource. Trace minerals are the scarcest resource. Why is that? It's because the microbiology actually creates the trace minerals in many situations. If you haven't checked out our other video on molybdenum, I hope I said that right. I always butcher that word. I talk about how that trace mineral is created by the bacteria, and I show you specific spots of why it's doing it because of the oxidation process, right? And I show you that trace mineral, after it's produced, if you don't have a good humic layer, it can be washed away. That specific mineral does something like 60 plus coenzyme reactions. Same thing over here. I'll give you another example of the law of minimum. You can have all the minerals, right? But if you don't have water, that being the lowest wedge on this barrel, well, the plants are going to die. So that's a great example of law of minimum. Law of tolerance. An abundance or distribution of an organism can be controlled by certain factors where if levels of these exceed the maximum or minimum limits of tolerance of the organism. So showing you this graph, right? So there's zones of intolerance, and that could be many things. It could be your pH, it could be the temperature, and we showed you pictures of that, right? I just showed you quick examples. If it's too hot, it could be causing a phosphorus deficiency within the root system. I don't know if that's true. Maybe there is enough phosphorus. The grower knows how much he put in there. I'm just giving him an example, and I'm showing you guys an example that these few laws, if you really embrace them, will make a life change in your life through many different things, because these laws apply to human beings as well as to plants. Want to show you this too, right? So phosphorus and magnesium, just those two things affect some of these other minerals that I circled right here. And as you can see, these minerals affect these other minerals already, but just direct relationship, phosphorus and magnesium affect just a few of these. I just want to keep these types of images in your mind as you're in your garden every day, because making the connection that all these things have a relationship will make you a better grower, because you will be more thoughtful on your decision making throughout the entire day. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the geeky stuff, because I think that's really brings into the why. I just showed you real quick the videos, the pictures, this is how it looks, this is how you fix it. So let's get into the why. Benefits of magnesium. Chlorophyll production is the green blood of the plant. Magnesium gives the green color. The center of chlorophyll is magnesium. So as you can see right here, this is the chlorophyll molecule. It has 55 carbon, 72 hydrogen, 4 nitrogen, 5 oxygen, and 1 magnesium molecule. Okay, if you haven't checked out our amino acids video, highly recommend do so, because it gets more into amino acids and it kind of explains this a little bit more. But anyways, right here, this whole molecule, the chlorophyll molecule, the green that you see in the plant, this is the 1 magnesium right here in the center, and all this other stuff is bound to that magnesium molecule. And then from there, that chlorophyll, all these other minerals in some way have a relationship to the chlorophyll. Okay, so wouldn't it make sense if you're having a magnesium deficiency, it's a good chance that you might be having a secondary deficiency on some level, right? And right when you start to make these connections, you're like, oh, I'm just not having a magnesium deficiency, I'm also having a phosphorus deficiency, or I'm having a secondary. I'm going to once again explain that more in depth in a second. So magnesium helps with the mobility of phosphorus, ATP, iron utilization, law of minimum, law of tolerance, fruiting, maturing. If you want a good source of magnesium, look for langdonite. If you want to save in shipping, look for it in the Down to Earth product. I love their products, love the company, don't make any money off of them, but they're definitely doing the right thing. Magnesium is a mobile nutrient, so you want to look to the older leaves to identify a deficiency or a toxicity. Okay, here's a couple quick pictures showing you magnesium deficiencies in different stages. Okay, so this one has a magnesium, and I don't want to call this a calcium deficiency, but it could be. Right here, here's another magnesium. Right here, I showed you this one, another magnesium. Let's look at the overall plant now, right? The magnesium deficiency is happening on the mid-lower side of the plant because, once again, the mobile nutrient, the plant's capable of robbing the nutrients from the older leaves and taking it up to the newer plants. So do you see a magnesium deficiency yet on these newer leaves? I don't. And once again, that kind of is showing me, all right, there's a good chance that this is going to be a magnesium issue. I've heard many times that if once you see a magnesium issue, you're behind by a few weeks. And I actually kind of agree with this because, once again, chlorophyll, magnesium molecule right there in the center. The plant's doing all of its energy to produce chlorophyll, so everything else can happen. So if it's robbing the magnesium from this other nutrient, there's going to be a good chance that you're probably a week to 10 days behind at this point when you really think about it. Okay, benefits of phosphorus. Root growth, flowering, and seeding. Why? Is because photosynthesis collects the sun and carbon dioxide to produce ATP, adenosine triphosphate, and oxygen. ATP will attach itself to 3 phosphate groups. So this is when people say a sugar, when they reference sugar, well, that's because these organic compounds have bound to phosphorus. The chlorophyll molecule was with the magnesium, right? Well, now these organic compounds are bound to 3 phosphate groups to create sugars. These sugars are stored in the root system in the form of glucose, which later combine with other amino acids to become exudates, which stimulate root growth, bacteria, and fungi development. It stores the energy in the root system so that it can grow at night. Photosynthesis gets shut down dramatically without phosphorus. Okay, here's a couple good pictures, I think, of a phosphorus deficiency. I think definitely as this begins to break down, other deficiencies begin to happen alongside it. Phosphorus has a key purple characteristic different from magnesium and sulfur deficiencies because magnesium and sulfur also have purple characteristics. The thing about it, though, is that they're going to appear at different points. So this is a good way of getting away from the labs and using their technology to gauge how malnourished your plants are, to really understanding, okay, well, this purple appears on the plant first, and then this purple is going to appear on the plant second. If it appears in the plant second or at this stage, well, that means I'm 10 days into my deficiency or 14 days into my deficiency or whatever, or it's starting to go from a light issue to more an extreme issue. Us as a growers getting more in tune and getting away from the labs. Well, I know the labs are cool, but getting more in tune with these plants will make you a better grower. And I think that's what I want to do on this channel for you guys, right? Is I want to develop you guys to a point where you're able to call it for what it is. Okay, so a little bit more. The purple pigmentation in the leaves mixed in with the green any time prior to the last 2 weeks is another really good thing to be aware of. You start to see purple in the leaves, and I kind of showed that to you right on the plant that had the leaves at the bottom, and that I was saying, hey, this might be a purple deficiency. And well, what's happening when that purple is happening, right? Well, it's because that photosynthesis is shutting down, or that phosphorus part's not happening properly. It's causing sugars to build up in the leaves called anthracite. And at that point, when you see this type of deficiency, you might see aphid builds up right under your plants right after this, or you might see some caterpillars build up or something, right? Because those sugars, and again, this is my opinion, those sugars I think is an indicator for the plant to be getting sick or weak or getting to the end of the season because the colder temperatures are coming in. Because that's also another way for those sugars to build up is when those temperatures do get too hot, too cold, the sugars build up, and I think that's what signals to the bugs to come eat them, or even the fungi, right? We've been talking about decomposer fungi, and this is just part of the natural season cycle. And then it's followed up by necrosis in the leaf, as you can see right here. So complete shutting down of the leaf. Phosphorus is a mobile nutrient, so once again, look to the older leaves. In a past video, I actually talked about a potassium toxicity, and I'm using some of the same pictures because, once again, these things all work together. So when you see one, there's a good chance that other minerals are going to cause similar toxicities and signs, and I just want to and once again, just show you the why behind it. Law of minimum, law of tolerance, and see how everything works together. Okay, so this was the purple pigmentation in the leaves that I was talking to you about, a little bit more up close. Obviously, the picture I showed you in the very beginning, that leaf was most likely midway through. And what do I mean by that, right? So this is the first stage of a phosphorus deficiency, in my opinion. If you see this, you're a couple days into it, right? But if on the other plant, how you saw it on the very beginning and you just saw the purple just starting, I'd probably say that might be 10 days into it. Well, if you see this right here, who knows? You might be 12 or 14 days into this because, in my opinion, more sugars are building up. This is where, obviously, if I went to a lab analysis, where I would probably do once, or twice just to confirm it, my opinion, or maybe flip my opinion around from more purple being the deficiency just starting and less purple being later. Who knows? I'm just observing these plants in a small moment in time and making an opinion and saying, hey, I'm pretty sure it's this, right? But again, sometimes getting a lab analysis will confirm your opinion. I wouldn't be sending my plant lab analysis out on every grow. I might do it 2-3 times in my entire lifetime. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into a phosphorus toxicity, because once again, I use the same pictures also with the potassium toxicity because they will show up very similar. And if you haven't watched that video, I recommend to do so because I show you step by step as well. Okay, newer leaves develop intervening corrosis. You can see that right here. Leaf tips margin burn. You can see that right there. Less internodal spacing. You can see this right here. The plant's pretty tight together. And I actually have the finished flower. He sent me a picture of it and you could see it was very tight together. And then down here, root tips die back. And so after you pulled the root system up, this is what the root system looked like. Okay, so he was using the Fox Farm line. So he was using Bembe, Tiger Bloom, and Cha Ching, if I remember straight. Right here, I want to show you what a healthy root system looks like right here. I want to show you this client's root system right here using the Fox Farm line. And I'm going to show you, it doesn't matter if it's the Fox Farm line, you're going to see the same thing with all the other nutrient lines if they go unbalanced, if you don't keep them absolutely perfect, because this will happen more often than not. And yeah, you're going to get a yield, but you're not going to see the highest potential of these plants. Okay, so right here, once again, potassium excess, just showing you once again how similar these things look and how they will actually overlap. And very times you're going to deal with both of them at the same time. Newer leaves develop internoding sclerosis. Same thing. Right here, you're seeing the same thing, same type of signs. Leaf tips and margin burn. Right here, seeing the same thing. Calcium, magnesium, zinc, iron deficiencies. Yeah, I can start to see some things happening right here. And I'm talking not right here, I'm talking about this leaf down here. Lower leaves curl, develop spots. Once again, pointing out to these leaves over here. Okay, potassium, newer leaves, seeing the corrosis, seeing the magnesium deficiencies happening. Kind of they're all happening, the calcium deficiency happening, and then something right here. Once again, reinforcing all these little tips. And then I'm going to show you a little text. Root system is acidified. Root tips die back. Never doing autoflower in a 7-gallon again. The roots didn't come anywhere near the sides of the pots. As a matter of fact, it was no bigger than a softball. As you can see right here, you can see right here. Once again, healthy root system, unhealthy root system. Okay, so this was the nutrient lines and everything he was using during this entire grow. As you see, the majority of this is the Fox Farm line, some general hydroponics, some Botanicare, some Clonex, and I think these are the best products right here. He has right here, the Mycos and Recharge. We worked through this. I mean, guys, this is $200-$300 right here at times. You don't want to just throw it away. You just want to use it up until you are confident that this probably isn't the solution or isn't going to get you to where you want to go. Okay, so when I pulled all these fertilizers out, all these reds are the ones that over different videos I've shown you that aren't good. All these reds don't appear in nature ever. These do. Calcium nitrate can appear in nature. These appear in nature. This appears in nature. All the rest never appear in nature. These are all synthetic fertilizers that aren't just synthetic, because synthetic just means man processed. They're actually created by man, and that's a whole nother level. These other ones, nature actually, you can find these types of deposits, or the way these types of fertilizers were created, they're using chemistry that nature also creates through electrical storms and other stuff. I talk about the benefits of nitrogen in one of my other videos. You can check that out. Explains more about that. Okay, so let's look at the other nutrient lines real quick, because I'm going to get a lot more into depth over the time, but I just want to show you how similar they are. Okay, so if you see the other nutrient lines, I haven't went through some of them. I'm still pulling up all what's in it. You can see right here, advanced nutrients. You'll see all very similar of the same chemicals. You go over to Jack's. A lot of you guys like Jack's. The same chemicals in there. Fox Farm, same chemicals in those too. All the same exact ones. Botanicare actually has some nicer ones, some nicer chemicals. Although the issue with it is like you're buying near top shelf chemicals that are extremely watered down. Like you go to a bar, right, and you buy the highest tequila, but it's been watered down dramatically. Still get drunk, but you're spending 5 times the amount of money if you would just went to a place that had some solid values. And once again, Botanicare is owned by Monsanto and so on. You gotta check out the other video where I compare HygroGuard to the cost of cocaine. Same thing even with NPK. They have a top shelf line right here, and I break it down in other videos, but then they have their, okay, well, if you want to buy cheap stuff, just buy it here. And the thing about them is they actually put less cheap stuff in their nutrient line. It still is cheap on some of them, but they put less crappy stuff in there than other nutrient lines. Same thing with general hydroponics. Exact same fertilizers. If you see the green, it's because of good stuff. If you see the yellow, it's medium, and red is like, no way. Okay, remember, law of minimum, law of tolerance. Always keep these diagrams in your head because everything works together. And these are the approved brands right here. Gaia Green, Earth Dust, Nectar of the Gods, Down to Earth, Drops of Balance, NPK Nutrients, Recharge, Extreme Gardening. There's going to be other nutrient lines I'll find, but for right now, these are the ones I push and recommend. If you go to the store, ask them, learn how to use these nutrient lines, because you will be a better overall grower and your plants will appreciate you. I think you'll have actually a better conversation overall with them. Once again, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great grow, everyone. Manganese aids in more than 300 enzymes that regulate the human body and plants. So manganese is the trace mineral that helps create 300 other coenzymes. So that's pretty significant.